Good morning and welcome in, everyone. Before we get into this morning's update, I want to go over a quick overview of not only the crypto market, but what I am dealing with today. So we came up to Grand Rapids. My son needed his button changed for his G-tube. Well, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to go to that appointment today at 11. Last night he spiked a pretty nice fever, and it's come down a lot from last night. But he had a little bit like almost like a seizure like activity from the fever spike. I called, to have 911 come, and they looked at him. They weren't concerned at all. There's something that happens, but talking to everybody and things like that, his fever's come down a lot. I mean, he hasn't broke it quite yet. It's at 100.3, but it was there's a lot of things going on last night, so it was a pretty interesting night. I only slept for an hour and a half. But he's good. I mean, he's doing his normal stimming. He's happy. He's talkative in his own way. But it's something that happens, especially with the G-tube. There's a lot of factors that'll come up. So if you're facing that scenario, there's never a dull moment. But fortunately, he's okay. There's just been a lot of trauma with my son. So any little thing that happens, it can become a little bit of a traumatic event for the parents mostly. So, but he's doing good this morning. I mean, aside from still having the fever at 100.3, but like I said, it was at 103. It was probably higher than that because the first measurement we got was 103. And it's come down since then, but there's combination where we're much higher elevation here too, so that plays a role, obviously. But it was a scary moment, but nothing. We were unprepared. We were prepared, but that's just something that's been going on. So show some grace today. I'm still here. But you know how it is when something happens to your kids. It can razzle you a little bit. Not the razzle dazzle, more like the razzling and scrambling of the brains. But with that being said, good morning. 9:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, May 23rd, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So I got to come back out here June 27th to do this whole button change again. So we're going to stay out here till Sunday. And at the very least, if something else happens, we're about the best children's hospital that this country's basically got. But a funny story. It's not all doom and gloom. Funny and kind of interesting. So last night I went downstairs. There's where you can walk out of the parking garage and stuff from the hotel. And it's a weird setup. So the elevator goes right down into the parking garage. And when you walk out, it's like in a room, but then you walk out. But anyhow, I sat there in the corner. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, my mind's like, holy shit, like I just needed to sit there, let my mind just sit for a minute. So I'm sitting there and a little emotional. This guy walks by. 2 minutes later, the staff comes by. You okay, sir? Some gentleman came up and said there was a homeless guy sitting in the corner. And I'm thinking, like, I got a $300 Columbia jacket on. I got a $170 pair of shoes on. I got my Samsung phone next to me, which is clearly not an inexpensive phone. I have nice glasses. I have a national championship hat on. And the lady's like, we just have homeless people that come here sometimes and they scare off the customers. It's like, well, and she's like, but I know who you are. I've seen you here. I seen when your son was here last year. I recognize you even. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good. Good to know that I made everybody's night. So yeah, true story. First time I ever got mistaken for a homeless person. But I can imagine. I was probably disheveled. But let's get into XRP. That was a good 4 minutes of backstory. So if you're feeling miserable about yourself, just know XRP Future Millionaire got misidentified as a homeless person last night. So, true story. Julie can't stop laughing about it. Because literally, she walked in from smoking a cigarette, because I don't smoke cigarettes, and I was waiting inside for her, because obviously it was a traumatic event, and my mom's here with her mom, so we have a lot of people here. But she comes in, and I'm not saying nothing, like, I'm not acknowledging that she just said that this guy thinks I'm homeless. I didn't acknowledge her, I didn't say a word, I just stared at her like a homeless guy. And Julie comes in there like, oh no, we're staying here. He's not homeless. He's fine. This and this and this happened. And he's like, oh, I understand. I knew who he was, but I just wanted to make sure he was okay. And I just stared like a deer in the headlights. Like, I'm not answering this. This is insulting. But at the same time, So XRP sitting at $2.36. I think the best way to look at this, I get the question a lot. Why did XRP fail? Well, the biggest reason is, one, we got double rejected at $2.65. And then I would encourage you to go back to yesterday's update when we talked about if we got over 242, we would need to get over $2.52 to keep from another correction. So basically what ends up happening is the fact we didn't get all the way up to $2.52 and hold it, now hitting $2.47, that's great. But now we get to back test the breakout again. And that's what you've seen happen. Once we got rejected at 252, we came back to validate this. As long as we don't break, we've created an inverse right arm in a very small time frame. It's basically emulating. So basically what ends up happening is a lot of times in the micro movements, which would be right in this little small 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is the 9th day. So on a 9-day frame, compared to going all the way back here, which would be February 3rd of 25. Then you come all the way down to here, which is April 7th. So now you're talking about 2 months compared to a 9-day setup. And then it takes another until May 6th. So you're talking about a 3-month setup. Boom, 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 which could be an inverse head and shoulders. A micro movement of this movement in 9 days, which could be an inverse left shoulder, inverse head, inverse right shoulder that came down and formed today. And now, because of the way it came down, I'm not convinced that that's a long, I don't know. That's top heavy to me. That doesn't look like a technically dead in the middle. This almost looks like this could have been a fake out today. We've got the golden cross, we recrossed, what I'm trying to say is we recrossed, not necessarily a golden cross, we'll rewrite the ship here in the daily. Now, when you go into the weekly, it's a little different. Weekly, we were trying to have an engulfing candle, and we just couldn't get anything going, and that could be deemed as somewhat of a neutral candle here right now, with angling possibly ending as somewhat of a bearish candle, ironically. 4 hourly, it's going to tell a big story right now. Big story. Because we don't want to invalidate this structure. And one of the good things here is right now, just something I'm seeing like just coming across my screen. The good thing is this 200 days. Notice how it's doing this. Whoops. That looks like trash. Hold on. Can't show you the 200 day and then have it running above it when it's below it. That completely ruins what I was trying to show. My bad. Bear with me. So what ended up happening was this. See that? So up, rejection, finally breakout support, back test through, back through. But you can see it's using the 200 day, it keeps bouncing back above it, which is a great sign. Came well above it, hit the rejection area at 265, which should have an immediate pullback. You guessed it, to retest the 200 day, but also the pattern back breakout as a back test. And it just so happens to be on the 200 day. So this movement right here, that's telling you right now, is this a bear flag? That drops us to here, and don't shoot the messenger. Does it drop us to there and come back to that 207 range? Or do we hold this, and this ends up being the back test here of the inverse head and shoulders breakout, back testing the neckline, and this is what can power us through that 265. We don't know the answer. Does it make me slightly nervous that we're heading into a weekend? It does. But the last 2 weekends, remember, we had decent weekends. Nothing spectacular, but it led to a reversal for the week to come. So it was not bad. Could this be a third straight weekend after 17 in a row to start the year where it was all bearish to where now all of a sudden the third straight weekend where we can say, well, it was a nice consolidatory hold weekend. What would I expect out of a consolidatory hold weekend and not a breakout here on Friday? So if we don't break out here on Friday and get past at least $2.42, right? So if we don't come back up 7 cents roughly and get past 242 and start settling near 243 or at the 242 line even, then you start to come down into, okay, well, what could this weekend be in store? And this is not because this is what's going to happen necessarily. This is just in case we formed a left shoulder ahead, and then this is a topping reversal here with the bear flag, if that's what it wants to. If not, it's an inverse head and shoulders, which was not invalidated. In fact, it validated what we talked about to start the push up when we had this correction phase, that we would have to get some kind of imitation of this left side. Well, we got it. It doesn't need to make a W. It just needs to come out and represent and fill it out on this side for the trading bot. Almost looks like that's what's happened. Now, you can get excited about that, but remember, in the 2-hour time frame, $2.35 is that 200 days, so we got to be above it. If we're getting rejected below it, that never is a good thing. That means that the short-term pattern momentum is turned into short-term pattern selling pressure instead of like buying pressure. That is never typically a good thing, especially in the short term, because then in the weekend, that would end up bringing us some, and then it would end up going, whoops, not that arrow. It would end up going, right? Oh, shit. Oh, no, we don't have enough. Oh, no. And then I could see us doing a massive, I mean, look how big that would be if we did something like that. However, if we did something like that, that brings us back and retesting solidly that $2 area, $1.98 to $2. And we don't necessarily want to come down there, because then if you come down there, then you're literally a hop, skip, and a jump with all that extra buying momentum from the top to come down and tap that $1.50 FVG, which is a fair value gap. Yes, I'm aware when it came to $1.62 that we partially filled it, but in my opinion, it wasn't good enough. I can't consider that to be a wipeout of that situation. It doesn't mean we have to come back down there, but it still leaves the door open. So until we get above 265, I'm going to be very, leery, but optimistic, because eventually, even if it comes down here, here's the bottom line. Even if it comes down here, we're still super bullish. We're super bullish. Like, we haven't finished this fifth wave. We haven't even we haven't even started it according to this right now. We haven't even started it. That's the crazy thing. We haven't got that validation that we've started it. We've tried to give us a little bit of noise. Remember when I drew that out as a back test to create a larger inverse right arm it could even come all the way down to about right here, $1.70. That's what I mean. Like, it's an interesting dynamic we have going on here. For sure. For sure. And that's the distribution box. We've got to get back in demand and ultimately break into discovery. It's done us a huge service here by going up and making everybody whole after 7 years. I've shown this many times. It made everybody whole. Here, let me move some of this stuff out of the way so it's easier to see. Discovery. And I put it like this so I can move the bubbles based on, what we need to see. I think it's a good idea. Some might think it's a stupid idea, but I think it's a good idea. So what we did, which was, it gave us a lot of grace here. We came up here in 2018 in January. Hit all-time highs. We'll call it $3.38 on this chart. Came up here finally 7 years later. Made everybody whole. Every single person, even if they bought up here at the top in 2017, 2018, are made whole. They can finally, after this amount of time, 7 years, approximately 7 years, they can finally sell out and cause a heck of a pullback here, because they're like, the hell with this. I've been sitting in here for 7 years. You don't sell, you don't lose. See, the game pays off. They sell off, comes down 54%. Now, some of those same people are like, you know what? I made a great sale. It's 54% cheaper. I got all my money back. Now I get to buy XRP at $1.60 instead of holding it at $3.40. And now some people are holding. Is that enough people, though, to allow a rally to start where we have more retail and high-end traders, which would be venture capitalists, which are multimillionaires who invest in projects just for the sake of investing in what they believe in. And they have a lot of capital so that they can put in. They got a lot of liquid cash. So when they put it in, they can let it sit for years on end, and they end up becoming whales huge whales over time. And then when it's time, well, I've been in this 7 years. I finally make a few hundred to a few $1,000%. It's time to cut bait and go on to the next part of my venture, so to say. So you want them, and then you want the institutions as well. Well, with the delay in the case, that's not going to be so much of a hindrance to institutions because they know what the game is. They know that it was a little bit of clerical paperwork error. There was nothing that's going to change that's already been agreed on. It's to me, it means that they weren't ready to have this. It's not, to me, it's not a flip of the switch moment because we see it coming. A flip of the switch insinuates that we never seen it coming, just like a black swan event. It insinuates that we don't know what's coming. When a black swan event means that we have all of the evidence in front of us, which allows us to come to a conclusion that some kind of event out of the ordinary is about to happen. Just like with what's happened here. So that's the way I'm looking at this. And we'll see if we end up coming back down to distribution or if we go to demand. But don't underestimate the power of having everybody made whole after 7 years and not having to deal with that when you go into discovery. The worst possible scenario that could have happened, and it's crazy, but this is right here. And some people be like, oh, Tom, what the hell are you talking about? I could have sold it there and I would have had much more money. No, you wouldn't have because you didn't sell it to begin with when it was way up here. So you would not have sold it. So the worst thing that could happen top is if it would have bounced and then came up here, let's just say 415, and then created the top, because now it shot up without giving the opportunity for all these people from 280 to 340. You could even say $2 to 340. They never got a chance. Yeah, fuck it. In the demand zone. These people in the demand box going all the way down to like 260 and all the way to $2 for that, you know. But going all the way down through the demand zone, they didn't have a chance to ever sell in 7 years. They never got the price appreciation. Even if they bought it at, you know, some discounts, they thought at 260, 250, 220 when it was at $4 or 340. They didn't ever, whoops, shit. They never got the, they never got it. They never got that validation. So it's interesting here. I want to put that back out. But it's interesting that it was able to clear out all that liquidity, all those people that were like, I'm out of here the first time it hits back up here. It's a good thing. Like this, it can't be understated what happened here. And I know a lot of people are bearish now for some reason on XRP, and I get it. I do. So then if you look at this realistically, if that was the start of it, I mean, this is going to get you up here in some big fashion. But I'm just going to leave it like that just in case. But remember, if it does what it did in the past, how did the demand zone get deleted too? That's interesting. That's super interesting. I don't know how that got deleted. It's no big deal. We can fix this. It almost, wow, it's funny. It went to $2.82.22. I am not changing that. Look at that. 282.22. That is crazy. So that's basically, to me, the demand zone. In the middle is the consolidation phase where we don't know if we need to go back to distribution or if we can stay in demand and push out. We've never quite pushed out the discovery yet. Did ourselves a huge favor by making everybody whole. If you look at the 5 wave, the one thing that can happen is if we go back into our prior history, is that if it takes 3 to 3.5 years, this could very well push you out, you know, into late 27, early 28. Which, if anybody remembers, when I started on YouTube, my most bullish scenario is 2028 to 2032. So it'd be pretty interesting. I don't necessarily think this is going to drag on that long, but it's definitely a possibility out there. So tried to go in deep with this update. I appreciate everybody who stayed around for, it's going to be over 20 minutes when it's all said and done. We got to take a quick look at Ethereum, a quick look at Bitcoin as well. And then I'll release this. Bitcoin's at 109,000 and some change. Still in the weekly, that's a super engulfing, listen everybody, that's an engulfing candle to the top side, made a new high. Now we're back testing the weekly breakout. This cannot be understated. Again, like, I know it, we woke up and it seems so very bearish, but it's not. Even if it came down to 88, it's not bearish in this setup right now. And the thing is after this breakout, I targeted this from back here. We still need to come up to 122K to finish off this initial push. 122,400 roughly. So whether that happens now or later, in time we should come up there, no question. And it's not close enough. I'm sorry, 111,000 is not 122,000. It's just not. So definitely something that I am paying attention to. The back test on the weekly breakout right now is very crucial. Before I get into Ethereum, if you're a fan of XDC, you may get a better opportunity on this back test like we've talked about. I am in the zone here. I'm buying it. Until, even if it comes down here, I'm just buying it until it gets to 10 cents. This is one of those accumulations where it's not about my average price. It's about the amount of tokens I can get before it actually breaks out from this long-term consolidation. My goal as it goes through here, because we could be dealing with several years here. Don't kid yourself if this comes through. It's just we had a short-term breakout, and now we're consolidating, but we have not technically backtested. So I told everybody, if you're buying it, like with my philosophy here, you can have the opportunity on Bitunix to where you can buy and sell, you can swing trade it, you can buy it in a moment, buy 50,000 tokens, and then you're like, you know what, I think we're going to have a 5% correction. You can sell it out for pennies on the dollar, not even a couple dollars on 50,000 tokens, wait for that 5% drop, and then just rebuy back in on Bitunix. It's so much different than other exchanges. You don't have to deal. One day here, very shortly, I'm going to do an intro video to Bitunix again, and I'm going to show you what I mean by buying and selling and how little the fee is, even if you do a market order. The cool thing about Bitunix, if you do a market order, it finds the best pricing. It's not just going to give you the worst pricing like most exchanges. I put in limit orders where I put it well above, and it gives me the best price possible. Like, it's not just giving me, I've had exchanges where I'll buy XRP at 50 cents, let's say. I'll put it at 51 to say this is the most I'll pay, and it'll always fill it at 51 cents, even though it's at 50.4 cents, and it used to piss me off. You know, and then with fees, if you do it in market, it always pissed me off, and then just other exchanges. And these are supposed to be low fee volume for these exchanges I'm talking about. With Bitunix, if I do it and put 51 cents and it's at 50.4, it gives me 50.4. It doesn't pull the 51 cent seller because I put it as my highest level. So that's something I'll respect. And also, I support Bitunix because in 2020, when this lawsuit was announced, they never missed a step. They always kept XRP on the exchange. They always kept the fees so low to where it was worth it. Practically zero. It's like stealing. And the only thing that I regret is I didn't know about them until early 23. Or no, late 23, and then I talked about it to the public in 24. I did a 3-month study on it independently without telling the audience. And then once I figured out, like, holy crap, this is a game changer, I let the audience know there's no VPN or KYC. And it's got the lowest spot and leverage trading fees that I have found in the USA. It's available worldwide. And the beauty of Bitunix is they added XDC. They got Alchemy Pay. They've got Zil, VeChain, IOTA, ALGO, XRP, XLM, HBAR, XCN. They even added for the fans of XCN not too long ago. So, I mean, it's the way to go. If you're trying to avoid the fees, that's definitely the way to go. I encourage you to join the Telegram. It's free. The only rule is that, you know, there's no second chances, so don't be a dick. But a lot of people in here. We have 284 members, a lot of good people talking. So yeah, and then some of them on Bitunix, if you don't see them in the spot, you just buy them on 1x in the futures market. So always ways to get around it. I think with IOTA and HBAR, you have to do that, and the 1x and the, which means you won't be able to send it off of Bitunix. That's the big difference. So, and now Ethereum, and then I'm going to let you guys go. This has been a very long update. Thank you for listening in the beginning. Words, kind words, hell, even constructive criticism if you would like to go that route. It's fine by me. Not going to judge you. Daily. Looks a little interesting for Ethereum. We're trying to have this golden cross. I would like to say it doesn't come back below here. If we're going to continue bullish, it shouldn't come back through the 200. It did it here. It created this, what could be conceived as a short-term inverse head and shoulders. So, I mean, if we're going to stay hot, we should stay over. We really should stay over this rising wedge area. Remember what we talked about? We need this to not get rejected at the rising wedge because there was a cup that needed to form, which is basically happened, the shorter one. The good news is there's a longer cup up here that I'm waiting for it to hit. Now, is it going to pan out? I don't know. Maybe. But we'll see. It's going to be the daily's going to tell us a lot. Weekly looks great. It reversed perfectly. Unless we end up falling off here in the next 2 days. And I can tell you, I'll give you this. You'll know something's gone horribly wrong if you see Ethereum below 2,430. That's your first sign. You'll know it's gone off the rails if we come down below 2,370. That would be devastating if it came through and just looked like it was going to take a nosedive. But that looks like a bull flag to me still. Sorry, but that doesn't look bad. So we're going to watch this very closely. I almost feel like they dumped out the U.S. What am I at with XDC? I want to tell everybody my holdings. I've been very dedicated. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. Thank you to the over 38,009. Wow, we're almost at 39,000. We are fastly, and I mean fastly, closing in on 40,000 subscribers. That is unbelievable. Downloading the Fortnite. And then, I think I already showed XDC. The fact that there could be an opportunity because there is that dot cross that could be starting. So, I mean, if you are a hunch-filled trader and you want to take a shot, you could technically sell your spot on Bitunix, but that's a big W reversal. Looks like a nice inverse head and shoulders. I'm just saying there could be an opportunity here, as we've been talking about, for a drop down to around that 4.2 cent mark. If you had testicular fortitude and it came down 40%, so that's something I wrestle with myself. But being on Bitunix, I don't have to wrestle with it. I could sell for less than $1 on $5,000 worth, or about $1. And then if I have second thoughts, I can rebuy it back for the $1 or $2 in fees. So that's what I mean. It's a game changer. Absolute game changer. So don't take it for granted, Bitunix. And this is not a live. This is an update. It's just a really long update. I tend to talk when I'm, one, when I didn't get any sleep, but two, when I just have a lot of stuff going on. I can't work in my garden because I'm not at home. I'd be outside. I'd be at the gym. Well, I'm going to go in the gym here. But I'd be in the gym. I would have already walked. And I wouldn't have went to the gym this morning because of my son. I would have been home, working out at home. And then I would have went out in the back into the garden. So now I get to do it here. So the gold-silver ratio went up 1.42% to 101.11. Wow, that's insane. It's up $1.41. That is incredible. The U.S. 10 years down 2 basis points or 0.4% to 4.51. DXY is down about 0.4% or 39 cents on the dollar. We're under the 100 pairing, which means your $100 bill in your pocket, even without inflation, is only worth $99.50. You really want it to stay around 100. It's kind of like a stable coin. You want to see the US dollar at 100 or higher, mainly for me at 100, so you're not overvalued and overhyped. Because once you're overvalued and overhyped, a lot of people sell out the government bonds because they know something big's coming to the downside, and then they capitalize, and that makes it even worse. Crude oil up 0.75%. That's got to be a heavy area for us coming up. It's got to be a heavy area. It's got to be a heavy area. And Murphy's, I've talked about because it pays a high dividend. I haven't invested in it quite yet because remember I was afraid that it was going to come down to, and it has. It got rejected there, but I was afraid it was going to come down here, remember? And I said I won't buy it until it gets to $12 possibly because I thought it was going to break down. I circled it higher up, and I said that looks like a topping formation. Thankfully, we were right. The cool thing about this is they pay a rather extreme dividend compared to most oil stocks. Oh, let's see what Murphy's dividend's at today. We have some news, some articles to read too for XRP, but this is gone. Little long. 6.23%. It continues to bounce up here. It was 5.9 when I showed last time. 6.2% for Murphy's Oil. And don't just buy something. I like to go and see their 10-year, 20-year history. And this company's been around since 95. And their PE ratio, price over earnings, is only at 8. That's beautiful. The 52-week low that we could be retapping and maybe coming through. Although you can see an inverse head and shoulders here, so we're going to have to be smart. We're going to have to be smart because it's very much there, especially in this last rotation, right around January of 2016, come to a head down here around 2020, coming down to validate this right arm in 2025. The floor over here was about 16. Okay. So at a certain point, I'm going to have to make an educated decision here on when to buy, but that looks like a bear flag that actually played down like we anticipated. I mean, it was up here. We remember we had a talk, and we said, okay, well, maybe back, where was it at? Right here, I believe it was right here. This is where it was at because it was down at $28 in April. And I said we could try to buy it there, but I feel like it's still going to come down because there's no pressure. And I said I'm going to wait until it comes down to that support. Got rejected here. I mean, that brings you right down. If it comes down to 13 or 12, I'm buying Murphy's more than likely. At a 6 point, if it comes down there, the dividend's going to be getting closer to 7, I have a feeling. That's a massive reversal there as well. You know what? It actually makes sense to come down. It might not need to come all the way down, but you know what? It does. If we want to, oh my God, it does make perfect sense. This is great. This is great. I think, well, I overlooked that. Well, not overlooked, but I was looking at it more in the whole scale. But look, if you take this on the smaller scale, instead of going all the way back to here where this pattern started, look if you take this, I'm glad I looked at Murphy's. I'm sure people are like, what the hell is he looking at Murphy's Oil? This guy's in his precious metals and mining stocks. Now he wants us to buy this shit. It's a dividend, guys. When you get to the right area, dividend-paying stocks, when they get reinvested, you make easy capital. It's called passive income. Well, not quite passive, but passive enough. Look at it. Left shoulder to a head. Validate a right shoulder by hitting this newly formed trend. Maybe bounce out. I'm going to be watching this. Support, support, support. This is tightening up. This is going to happen. I hope this drops here in the very short term. I hope this has a big drop next week. I really do. I hope this has a big drop. I'm going to be all over Murphy's Oil. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and join the over 38,900 subscribers as we get near 40,000. The gold silver ratio we went over. Gold's up $50 an ounce this morning, which is fantastic. Just spectacular. Up 1.5%. Pushing back towards that all-time high range. Looks like a big W reversal like we drew out. It looks like it's playing out. We said, oh, this isn't bearish, guys. We came back and did this big reversal like we needed to back test to see how we come out of layers. Came up, came down, basically back tested this little area. Came up, back tested the area right here. Came up, back tested this. Came up, back tested this. I mean, we're doing it universally the entire way up. It's exactly what you want to see. Like, it's exactly what you want to see. Came here, came down, back up, back test. Back up, back down, back up, back down. I mean, it's back testing every single layer up. The only layer it didn't back test is right here. It needed to come down a little bit farther. We talked about it on the way up, but you don't always have to come back to those areas. So that's gold. B2 gold's up to $3.29. It's down 1 cent today, but remember, it went down to $2.89, and I said, here's the time to rebuy. I think it went down to like $2.82. I bought it at $2.89, the rebuy, and now it's up 40 cents in a week. Pan America Silver was the same way. It was around 22, just under 22, and now it's almost 24. And we've got Fortuna Silver Mines down 0.5% at $5.77. And we've got First Majestic down 1.19% or 7 cents down to $5.80. First Majestic, Pan America Silver pay a dividend. B2 Gold pays the highest dividend out of this group. Barrick is not bad. First Majestic is a pedestrian, like 1/10, like 0.2%. So 1/4 of 1%. Fortuna doesn't have one. Pan America's a couple percent. It's not horrible. Although it could have went down a little bit because the price is a little higher. So yeah, that's where we stand. Have a blessed day. I hope this update hit you well.